Hey everyone, so you probably didn't hear it, or maybe you did. I'm not sure how much it picked up on the camera, but Kit here has a little bit of a problem. Now, you see this car on TV and you think, well, you know, Kit's indestructible, nothing can happen to him. Well, the reality of it is still a Pontiac Trans Am, and it still needs maintenance. So I've noticed over the last month or so, whenever I go to start the car, put it into gear, because again, it doesn't get driven hardly at all, but whenever I go to put it into gear and I hit the gas, the car doesn't move. And I have to get a little more gas, and then I hear a clunk, and then the car will back out. Well, I know what the problem is. The problem is one of the wheel cylinders on the drum brakes in the back has gone bad. I had this exact same problem happen to this car 7 or 8 years ago, and it was on the driver's side. Well, now it's the passenger side. So in preparation for this, I have a spare wheel cylinder, so I'm going to go ahead and replace it. And I thought, well, why don't I bring you along so you can enjoy watching me change what's definitely the original screen used wheel cylinder on the passenger side of this car. We'll put a brand new one in that should take care of our problems. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll get the back end jacked up. We'll get the wheel off and get going. All right, the back end up. All right, I'm gonna put a jack under here just to make doubly sure we're safe. Perfect. All right. Take the cap off. Some of you guys might have noticed that Kit is, well, a little dusty. Well, he's gonna get a wash today too, because it's just been a while. And you know, when you have a car like this, you know, it doesn't get driven on the road. It just kind of sits most of the time. So it doesn't get washed very often because it doesn't need washed very often. All right, so these are the original drums. Still have the factory locks on them. In fact, you can even, I think, see some of the paint there. Those are the original orange Coney shocks that they put on pretty much all of the Knight Rider cars. Performance shocks. Those are still the original from the 80s. In fact, everything you see is original, completely untouched. Except for the sway bar links. I did have to replace those because those were completely disintegrated. All right, so let's see if I can get these off here. Come on. These are a little tricky to get off. There we go. Once you get it started, it makes it a little bit easier. Whenever I originally got this car and went through it, it still had, actually it still does have the original brake pads on it. Because this car only has, well now it has about 650 original miles. So it, they were hard miles though, very hard miles. All right, let's see if we can get this one off. And hopefully the drum will slide off and we'll see what we're dealing with. We got some big updates on the semi coming very, very soon, including finally the sleeper. You're gonna see a lot of the sleeper here soon. All right. Do you wanna come off? Probably not. Come on, you can do it. Almost there. Come on, give it up. There we go. Oh yeah, the wheel cylinder is definitely bad. Drums are in good shape because, again, the car's barely driven. Take a look at that wheel cylinder. You can see here. Yeah, it's a mess. And it's spewing fluid. You can see where it put fluid in here, so we're gonna have to get this all cleaned up. But yeah, these are the original pads, and if there wasn't junk all over it, you could even see the original Delco part numbers on the edge. All right, so I did have to, when we got the car, went through it all, these springs were broken. So just these two, they were completely broken. I don't know if it's from a stunt maybe, but I did have to replace those two springs. All right, so I'm gonna go get the tools I need. I have the tool to take the springs off. We'll get this all taken apart and we're gonna get that cylinder replaced. All right, I first learned how to do this back in the 90s. My first Trans Am had drum brakes, so this you learned real quick. If you didn't want to spend the money to have someone come in and fix this stuff, that you had to do it yourself. All right, come on. There we go. Okay, back in business. Take that one off. And then let's grab this. I like to lay everything out on the ground, exactly where it goes, just in case I forget. All right, so now we got to get these springs out, which I think is just a push and a turn. Yeah. There's that one. And then this one. And then that all comes out like that. And now we are back to that cylinder is shot. All right, so I'm gonna get in here. Just cleaned up a little bit here. Now, normally, if this were a vehicle that, you know, was driven on the road, we of course would be replacing like all the brake components. But remember, this one does not get driven on the road. It is a unique car in that we just drive it on closed roads, closed circumstances, so it doesn't need all new parts, just enough to make it go and stop. So, all right, so we got that, got all our parts here. So now we've got to get this off, which I believe, yeah. Now, I went ahead and bought 2 of these cylinders because in 1984, this car is an 84. So in 84, Pontiac, on some cars they put metric fitting wheel cylinders, and others they put standard. I didn't know which one this had because I couldn't remember from last time, so I ended up buying both. They were actually pretty cheap. So we're gonna take this apart and see what we got. Let's see what we have here. The nice thing is this was a California car, no longer is. So everything pretty much unbolts nice and easy. All right, so I got that off. I'll put this under here because it's probably gonna leak some brake fluid. And, oh, that's not too bad. There it is. So now we got to figure out fairly quickly before, you know, all the brake fluid drips out. And where's that clip? All right. There's the old clip. All right, so get that wiped off a little bit. Then I gotta figure out which one of these 2 it is. All right, just in the nick of time. Get that tightened. Just gotta dry this off back here, make sure we are leak free. Okay. All right. Don't you hate when your light gets wedged in a Coney shock from 1984? Okay. Whew. So there we go. We got the new one in, old one retired. Now we just have to put this all back together. All right, so now it's time for reassembly. Assuming I can remember how this goes. That goes that. Yeah. So, put this pin in here. Like I said, it's certainly been a minute since I've done any of this. Like I said, it's been a minute since I've had to redo drum brakes. Alright, so we got that. I believe, yeah, that goes in here. It's all coming back to me now. Alright, so we got that in. Well, this guy goes in like that. That goes up there. Wipe the shoe down here. One's going to go in there. Something like that. Now we just have to put our final springs back on. Alright, so the first one is going to be this guy here. Alright, there's one. Now the blue. And then the white. It's right there. There we go. Magic. New cylinder installed. Huh. I am pleased. Just get all this wiped down. Okay, well, I suppose it's time to put the drum back on. I'm gonna wipe this down a little bit in here. Hopefully it goes on. Oh yes. Perfect. Put these back on here. And we're ready for a wheel. And hopefully that's the end of the issues, at least for a while. Now we still have to check the brake fluid. I don't know if we're gonna have to bleed any air out. It didn't leak too much. Alright. And of course, it's not done until we get the cap on. There we go. All repaired. All right, kit should be good as new. All right, now the question is, what should we do with this guy? Original wheel cylinder from an original Knight Rider car. I don't know, should we auction it off? Anybody, just get that clamp back on. There. Anybody need an original wheel cylinder from a Knight Rider car? I don't know, might be a good idea. All right, guys. Kit is repaired once again. You guys have said how you wanted me to, you know, bring you along as I do mundane things with original cars, so that's what you get. All right, hope you enjoyed this. I'm done for now. I'm gonna clean up my mess here and put Kit away, and that'll be that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Hello friends, it's me, Kit. When I'm not out fighting crime, I like to follow my friends at knightriderhistorians.com. Check it out.